Well, I was not expecting what I got when I sat down to watch episode 1 of Amazon Prime's The Peripheral, based on a 2014 book by the same name from author William Gibson, which I have not read, by the way. The Peripheral stars Chloe Grace Moretz and has Academy Award Screenplay nominee Scott Smith as the showrunner. Westworld creators Jonathan Nolan and Lisa Joy are also involved as executive producers. While all of that sounds good, after the Rings of Power and the Wheel of Time before that, I have less faith in Amazon Prime's ability to adapt someone else's work to the big or small screen. Having said that, the trailer for the show is interesting, and Chloe Grace Moretz is an excellent actress. Oh, by the way, this is going to be a spoiler review for The Peripheral. They start off with a scene in 2099 London. A man is sitting on a park bench watching a fairly realistic recreation of an Age of Sail naval battle, and we already see how far technology has advanced. A young girl, played by Sophia Ally, approaches and they have a rather strange and enthralling conversation, during which we learn her name is Alita. She is compelling as she plays the scene in such a way as to be uncanny, mysterious, and very unchildlike despite her apparent age. Then we get a time jump, and my first thought was that this could get tedious if they mishandle it, especially since this time jump is backwards to 2032, and what I was guessing is rural Tennessee or maybe West Virginia, but it could be anywhere up and down the Blue Ridge Mountains. The accent is more Tennessee or maybe even North Georgia. This is where we find Chloe Grace Moretz taking care of her sick mother, who is blind, and her brother, who seems to be a disabled vet of some kind. We later learn he was a VR special warfare soldier who does mercenary jobs in VR games. He's in the middle of trying to finish a job when she comes to accuse him of stealing some of their mother's medication. He ropes her into doing the job for him, and she does fairly easily. And that might become tiresome if they go too far with it. They kept the Flynn is a badass to a minimum in this episode, but it was there. Flynn goes to work at what looks like a 3D print shop, where she works with two nerds of color and has a friend stop by to affirm her awesomeness. Again, they go too far with this, it will get cloying. While at work, she is told her brother had a box shipped to him at the shop, something that a Colombian outfit out of Bogota paid for. When she gets home, she learns that her brother was given another mercenary gig testing out the VR rig inside the box, and that he only got the gig because she used his avatar to play a certain game the Colombians were watching. Burton, her brother, is a character, and the actor playing him looks like he is having a ball being a scoundrel and trying to lure his sister to the dark side, or at least the gray side. She agrees to do the job for him and hooks it to the rig, only to be transported to an obviously near-future London. It was well done, leaving just the right amount of old London buildings and streets, while mixing in just enough tech and new buildings that it very loudly announces the future. She comes into the game on a motorcycle with a feminine voice in her head telling her to go to a party in what used to be Buckingham Palace. The party was appropriately uncomfortable and awkward as she settled into being in her brother's avatar. Her mission was to get a particular woman to take him/her home with her. Once in the woman's car, she is told to break an ampule in her pocket and wave it under the woman's nose as they are making out in the back seat. Flynn is warned that the robot driver will try to kill her in order to protect the woman. Flynn does it, and the robot immediately tugs her into the front seat and begins to pummel her before grabbing a knife. After a pretty good fight scene, Flynn disables the robot and drives the car to where the voice tells him. At the location, he meets the voice, a woman named Alita West. Alita got more than a little pretentious while she was doing the voice in her head, And she is more than she appears in this first scene before Flynn ends the sim. When she comes out, she feels a bit woozy and has a headache, and her brother tells her to take a minute, it'll pass. He explains that the company who is paying him to test the rig are paying enough to set them up for at least a few months. He offers to go buy the one pill they need to tide their mother over until the money comes, but she says she will do it. And it is here we learn the medicine is gotten through illicit means. She meets some shady guys in a bar where another vet is drinking himself to the limit the barkeep has allowed. She gestures for the guys to meet her outside, and when they do, they don't want to sell her only one. After they suggest she works off the rest of the money for a full bottle, the vet, wheelchair-bound, comes to her rescue, threatening them until they decide to give her the one pill. The vet, Connor, is played by Eli Goree, and he was perfect throughout his appearance in this episode. Inside the bar, the boss has apparently shown up and seen the whole episode, teaching one of the men a pointed lesson about letting anyone bully them into doing what they already said they were not going to do. Louis Hertham plays the boss, Corbel Pickett, and he is coldly menacing as he teaches the lesson in the middle of a bar for all to see. At home, Flynn goes to see her brother, but notices he is dealing with his own pain, and leaves the beers she was going to share with him, allowing him the privacy to deal with it as he can. The next day, she goes back into the sim, and comes to in an operating room, strapped to a table and unable to move. The woman from the last sim, Elita, has his eye removed and replaced with an eye of the woman he kidnapped/killed from the last trip. And because the rig she is wearing is so advanced, she feels everything that is done to her. Elita tells her she is doing this to Flynn to see if she can master the pain, slow her bodily responses to the agony, and power through. When she does, Elita puts her out for the rest of the operation. Flynn comes to in the car with Elita. They are going to a secured building where the new eye can get them into secured areas. They go down almost 100 floors, and that is when we realize this whole thing has been some kind of heist. Though even by the end of the scene, we're not sure what kind since they are interrupted. Elita gets away, and Flynn's avatar has its head shot with a sonic pistol. Flynn jolts out of the sim in massive pain and with a determination not to go back in. The next day, her friend stops by to roust her out of bed despite Flynn wanting to call in sick. She's cleaning the shop window when there is a call on her smartwatch from the guy in 2099. He tells her that her life is in danger, that someone put a $9 million hit on her on the dark web. She doesn't believe him and ends the call. It cuts away to a Tennessee state trooper getting coffee at a gas station when he spots a couple of shady-looking cars with some shady-looking guys getting into them. And yes, we all know what's about to happen. He follows and they kill him, running him over with an invisible car with predator-like light-bending camouflage. It's closing time and Flynn is shutting down all of the 3D printers when they start talking to her. The guy from 2099 is trying to get her to understand that an outfit from Memphis has taken the hit on her and her family. She has to sign back into the sim, but she is not wanting to hear it. She runs out of the shop to go home. Her brother is sitting around a campfire with some other vets, talking over their regrets, especially the one concerning Connor, and the fact that they had intel that might have prevented him losing an arm and both legs. Flynn rides up and tells them about the hit, but they laugh and she leaves. One of the guys gets a pensive look on his face, and Burton asks him what he's thinking. The guy says they should have listened to the intel about the ambush, like they should listen to the intel about the hit. One of the guys has drones in his car and they fire them up. Inside, Flynn is getting her mother in bed when she hears the drones. When she goes out, the guys show her that the drones are showing a hit squad heading for their house. And that's where they end the episode. The Peripheral is captivating and intriguing and tense, and definitely made me want to see the second episode. The concepts were well thought out thus far, and the time jumping has not been mishandled as yet. The tech, and the CGI that makes it work, is done fairly well, again, thus far. Most of the characters we get to see in the first episode are well acted, especially Flynn and Burton. The accents are not hokey or wearing, as some Hollywood productions with southern accents can tend to be. And the setting, cinematography, and costumes are all competently done in what we were shown in this episode. Overall, my only questions going forward would be, are they going to go too far with the girl boss thing they have tiptoed into? Will they infuse the show with agenda? And how the hell can the same company that produced the hell on earth that was the Rings of Power have been responsible for this episode? That's all I have for this video. I will be getting into the second episode of The Peripheral in the next day or so. If you like what I do here, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, share the video, and comment down below to help out with the YouTube algorithm. And I will see you in the next video. Tschüss.